So I've been talking a lot about how in this time that we're living in right now, one of the biggest deterrents of people being led astray is the media and the messaging, the propaganda, and all of the things that people are saying that are ungodly. And First Timothy 4 clearly talks about that, where in the latter times, some will depart from their faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils is what that verse says. And that's so clearly, if you are in the spirit, if you are discerning, you would recognize that. And so one of the things that I do all the time where, before taking in information and as I process, I'll ask the Lord for discernment. And even now, as I read or discern something, I can tell, and this is something that a lot of people are gonna, find, prideful or arrogant or whatever. But I can tell when I see or look at somebody speaking, whether it's on a news broadcast, the writing of something, a news article, if it's some kind of a seducing spirit or a doctrine of devil, or it's giving some kind of impartial truth, or it's not giving the full story. And so the Spirit will speak to me and give me that sort of discernment. And so I'm not here to say that I know exactly, what the truth is as the alternative, but the fact that there's something off about what's being portrayed or given, or the story, the narrative that's being portrayed. And so a lot of people are growing in this aspect. And so right now, what's happening in the natural that I want to just briefly touch on is CNN, Facebook, and many other outlets are being exposed. I've talked about that, where in from all of the narrative, the propaganda pushing that they're doing, it's going to be exposed, it's going to be brought down, and it's going to come at them fast, hard, and with justice. And so you're seeing a lot of that. Even people that don't really follow the media or news, they're even asking, right? I had somebody ask me the other day, hey, have you heard what's going on with CNN? That's crazy, right? And, this person is not really, awake in some sense. But even the fact that 9 out of 10 listeners or something crazy like that, and I think some stats said 90% drop in viewership and in popularity or whatever it is, as well as the big news of Jeff Zucker, the chief, person there, resigning, scandals, Chris Cuomo recently being let go or fired or, whatever it is. And then you got a lot of these other scandals, Don Lemon with his Hampton, I think, sexual assault case and just various things like that, right? And so then you got Facebook, if you saw recently, the big news about their daily average users and their recent earnings call dropping, as well as missing earnings, and then like literally a third of their, or a fifth or a third, whatever it was, of their market cap just crashing, with the stock crashing, right? And so you have that, you have, what used to be timeless, things like the Olympics, it's going on now, but the viewership has gone down and whatnot. So everything that basically people have been projecting for you to watch, for you to take in, is not going that way. So people are not listening to CNN, a lot of the mainstream media. They're not listening to these guys. They're instead going to alternative things. They're going to sites, media, and various other things. They're spending their time in different ways. And so one of the ways that it's happening in sort of a grassroots and bottoms up format is that more people are waking up and they're seeing past what is this messaging, this propaganda, essentially, of them not portraying or giving the full truth, an objective point of view, and presenting the news in a good, clear, righteous way, in a sense. And so what you've got to think about here is that God is sitting up there, right? And a lot of us we're so in the weeds. We're looking at a professional person like Don Lemon or Anderson Cooper, and we neglect the fact that these guys are in their core not men of God, right? I think Don and Anderson are both, gay, and they have these ideologies, these liberal mindsets. And even though they sound, suave and good, you have to look past that. You have to look and see, what is it that they're saying? What is it that they're reporting that they're not reporting? What kind of suave talk and messaging are they crafting to give you this image of something, right? And so again, I'm not here to bash these guys, but what I'm saying is that when God sees these people, they're sitting there, they have a responsibility to stand up before hundreds of millions of people and give out objective, clear news, but yet they take that moment and they begin to lie, to give false testimony and witness, to give seducing spirits, doctrines of devils. And you see a lot of things already being uncovered. The Mueller investigation, the Russia hoax, many other things where in hindsight it was wrong, right? And so they refused to apologize. They refused to correct the image, the brand, and the tarnished image is already out there. And so for you to correct that, to fall back on it, a lot of that doesn't happen. And so from God's perspective, he's seeing these people for what it is, right? These people, lawless, ungodly men that are out there projecting, giving messages and things like that, and people in their innocence taking it in and being able to just believe it and run with it, and then being succumbed to what the Bible talks about is seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. And so again, I'm not saying that it's a Christian's fault because you couldn't get past what Don Lemon and Anderson Cooper and all these guys, Chris Cuomo, has been saying, but from the bottoms up perspective, a lot of people are waking up. They're getting discernment. And I've talked about this from the very beginning. You have to have and take on the armor of God. You have to be able to take on the mind of Christ, have the Holy Spirit reigning in you and asking him for discernment, so that when you look at something, when you see somebody saying something, you can get past their suave, like seducing spirit. You can get past, the words they're saying and in the spirit recognize where it is. And again, I'm not saying that you can fully know the truth. Somebody tells you it's 85 degrees, somebody tells you it's 80. You kind of have to take it for face value, right? But when you connect the dots, when you look at it, when you see their consistency, their history, and all these different things, then you can see past that. And instead of opening yourself up so that you can say, oh, I'm just gonna eat it like a buffet. Instead of doing that, you have to be able to, in guarding your heart, and then in your dialogue with the Lord, be able to say, Lord, I want to be able to hear the truth. And so a lot of people from the bottoms up perspective, they're waking up and they're tuning out. And so that's why you see people leaving CNN, they're leaving the Olympics, they're leaving this woke culture, they're going off of Facebook, they're going on to other sources of news and platforms and things like that. So we're seeing a shift, but at the same time, what God is doing is he's handling business. He's taking care of things, as I've said before, where he's exposing, he's removing. And I don't know, I can't say that we know the full story or that we will ever know if it's, sexual, misconduct and whatever it is for Jeff Zucker's resignation or firing or whatever it is, or if it was something more, it's deeper. And a lot of news is coming out, right? And so a lot of things are happening for which God is allowing it to come to light for people to look at it, weigh and judge it, and then say, man, I couldn't believe this was happening. I've been, bamboozled in a way where I've been tricked into believing this stuff, but I need to take on a mind of Christ. I have to be discerning. And so even non-Christians are looking at that and saying, man, there's something off there, and they're turning off. And what God is doing is he's taking care of that business. And you're going to see more of that, guys. You're going to see more of exposure, and you're going to see that breakdown. Because if you're God, I mean, not your God, from God's perspective, when he looks at that, you are seeing these lawless men that are going out there projecting. They have a motive, they have a reason, they have a desire to penetrate and infiltrate your mind and to give you doctrine that is not godly. And so they're doing that by tricking you, twisting some words, getting people to hate and divide you so that you can see, this versus this, that versus that, and to make you so that you have this wedge between people. And so again, if you read the whole Bible, if you get into the mindset of Christ, you would know that God is not one of chaos, of division, of fear, of anxiety, but because they're pushing these things. And if you listen to them in any, 30-minute like increments, you could see certain things that are just being portrayed from what they're saying. And so God is sitting up there and he's looking at this wickedness. He's looking at these false testimonies, these false modern day prophets of Baal, I want to say, false teachers, and projecting and saying all these different things to influence your mind into these wicked things of this generation, right? This woke movement of seeing certain things from a liberal perspective, and whatever it is, right? And so again, God is exposing this, and he's allowing people, those that are innocent, those that have been sheltered, to wake up to this from not only this grassroots movement from a bottoms up perspective, but also from a top down, meaning that God is just going to tear it down, and he's going to expose it. He's going to allow the wickedness to come to light and for people to fully see what it is that these people are doing. And so again, I'm here to say we've got to work both ways. Pray that God is going to continue to expose, to tear down, to replace, and to maybe even redeem and resurrect in some sense. I don't know how far CNN is going to go from what they're doing and what they've done and the reputation that they have, but it's not good. They're going to be torn down. They're going to be replaced. And I believe that whether it's a rebrand or whether it's totally annihilating them, that God is going to do what he has to do in terms of justice, in terms of, like I've said, take care of business. And so again, I'm not saying that these guys, are doomed to hell. A lot of them are if they don't repent. But because of the wickedness that they've done, they've got to come to Christ. They have to be saved first and foremost, but also they have to be dealt with what they're doing, because it's utter wickedness, the amount of influence they have, and to be able to lead people astray into these seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. And it's very real, guys. They look okay. They look like, oh, well, it sounds good. And, I can believe what they're saying. But again, they're deceiving a lot of people. They're deceiving you, and you have to be able to wake up. And so God is taking care of business right now. And it's a time to celebrate, because slowly but surely, all these things are going to come crumbling down, because you can't expect to stay in power, in influence, in narrating and storytelling everything that they're doing in the wickedness that they are, without expecting God is going to handle you and to deal with you, because you can't be deceiving the children of God. You can't be deceiving regular, ordinary people astray like that. And so those things are coming to light, guys. This big battle that is going on that I've talked about from a good versus evil perspective. All those things are happening right now, and it's a good time. So I want to just say right now, guys, that more is coming. You're already seeing it. You're already seeing the fall of these things. Pay attention, be open, be guarded, and more people, the normies, as a lot of people call it, the people that are asleep, that are still asleep, that are being shaken awake slowly. And so if 9 out of 10 listeners have moved on, what's more of that? There's still more of that, the 1 out of 10, that it's still going to happen. And the same goes for other networks, other places. So slowly you're seeing this shift, but it is quick, it's radical, and God's justice, his hammer is coming down. So again, guys, it's an exciting time. Just want to give you guys this word of encouragement to, again, be aware, be alert, be of sound mind, of doctrine, to take on the armor of God, and to be able to pray for others, because this is one of the biggest wickedness of our time right now. The fact that with the internet, with media, with all of this, one-to-many sort of relationship of projecting, right, and the influence they have, you can't. That's a big mantle to carry, and that comes with a great stewardship. And if you don't do your part in doing that well, to do it with righteousness, with honor, peace, and truth, then God's going to take that away and give it to somebody else that's going to handle that. And so again, God can only tolerate, this wickedness for such a time before he tears it down, and before people that have been praying, right, against these things and allowing righteousness to stand up. There's only a certain amount of time before God acts and he intercedes. And so that hour is now, and you're going to see more of that. And so I'm excited, I'm grateful, and God's going to continue working and moving. So God bless you guys. Talk to you guys very soon.